The academic procession, led by Professor Desiree Kennedy, our Chief Graduate Marshal, and the 2022 class professor, is now entering the theater. The audience should please remain seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, with your applause, don't hesitate, the Touro University Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center class of 2022. The graduates are being led into the hall by faculty marshals, Desiree Kennedy, Heather DiPiero, Tiffany Graham, Sonata McQuillan, Danielle Schwager, Rena Seplowitz, and Peter Zablotsky. Graduates, please stand at your seats so everyone in this auditorium can continue to look at you. Graduates, please remain standing and welcome members of the Law Center faculty and administration, Touro University Administration, Touro Law Center Board of Governors, and distinguished guests, led by Professor of Law William Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena Langen, Dean of the Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center, Dr. Patricia Salkin, Touro University Senior Vice President of Academic Affairs and Provost of the Graduate and Professional Divisions, Commencement Speaker, New York State Attorney General, the Honorable Letitia James, and Howard Glickstein, Dean Emeritus of the Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center, have now entered the theater. Dean Langen, with your permission, the 40th Annual Commencement Exercises of the Touro University Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center on this 22nd day of May, 2022, are now declared open. Next weekend, as you all know, is Memorial Day. Please take some time from the joy and celebration of this graduation season to honor the members of our military who gave their lives in defense of our freedoms, and to offer your thoughts and prayers for the safe return of the men and women of our armed forces currently serving in harm's way around the globe. Please all rise. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the United States of America. please remain standing for the invocation, which will be delivered by Touro Law Center Campus Rabbi Baruch Vogel.
Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the world, bless all of those who have assembled here today to rejoice in the commencement exercises of Touro University's Jacob D. Fuchsberg's Law Center, class of 2022. Shofet Kol Haaretz, divine judge, you have instructed humanity to embrace truth, protect the vulnerable, and ensure that righteousness and justice are pursued. Before you stand our graduates, women and men who stand at the dawn of their chosen careers to safeguard justice and truth as your agents. We pray to you today that they should exemplify the noble aspirations of their profession. Grant them the divine guidance to help them help others. Let them offer fairness, integrity, and civility to opposing counsel. To the bench, let them offer respect, truthfulness, and courtesy. And to the bar, let them strive for the highest level of professionalism, imbued with integrity, honesty, and in the spirit of public service. Dear God, may you indeed give strength and courage to our graduates as they begin their careers. Bless them as they set out as your agents to diligently and compassionately help all those who are in need of their assistance. And we ask you to bless them that their lofty goals, their dreams, and hopes that they have in their hearts here today stay with them always. As we stand here to celebrate your accomplishments and your ability to persevere in the face of numerous challenges, we also acknowledge the many hardships of the past 2 years and pray that we merit to see continued healing and prevention in our midst. At this momentous occasion, we pray to you, dear God, and we ask that you shower your blessings upon the families of these students, parents, spouses, children, mentors, and other dear ones who have been there for support and encouragement so that our students can persevere and succeed. Dear God, as we gather here this afternoon, we ask for your divine guidance and blessings for this great citadel of education, Touro's Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center. Bless the dean, the administration, the faculty, and the staff. Grant them the wisdom, resolve, and fortitude to continue to educate, to inspire, and to lead. Help them in their dedication to educate and train the next generation of students. On this occasion of the 40th commencement exercises of the Touro Law Center, we pray that the ideals of the Touro University that Touro University was founded on, to provide an education to students who will then serve, strengthen, and improve your world, dear God, become a reality. May each and every one of us have a part in that wonderful divine task of bettering our society, our country, and our world. Amen.
Please be seated. Gives me the greatest of pleasure to introduce Elena Langen, Dean of the Touro University Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center.
Good afternoon. Senior Vice President and Provost, Dr. Patricia Salkin, Attorney General Letitia James, members of our Board of Governors, honored guests, alumni, faculty and staff, family and friends of our graduates, and most important of all, our graduates, I welcome you to the May 2022 commencement ceremony for the Touro University Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center. To the graduates, you are to be commended and applauded for your resiliency and commitment throughout your legal studies. I'm not going to dwell on the challenges you have faced in earning your degrees. We are all aware of the havoc created by the pandemic on your lives and the lives of your family and friends, and on your legal education. Instead, we are here to acknowledge your accomplishments. Rather than reminisce about some of your favorite law school moments, like the highlights of your 1L year, I wanted to take time to discuss some things you may want to consider now that you have completed your formal education and are entering the next phase of your lives. I like to call these truisms that I've learned along the way while practicing law and teaching law students. I came up with 10, but I've decided to limit them to 4 for today. First, your career goals should not be dependent upon what others can do for you, what doors they can open, but what you can do for others. Remember that all of you have earned degrees in a service profession. I can say without reservation that you are entering one of the best professions in the world. You will find fulfilling careers, great opportunities for financial advancement, the ability to help others, and personal satisfaction. Your law degree will open doors for you to an exciting career. Pursue your passion, whether it is as a litigator or a transactional lawyer, in public or government service, in business, or in any other area that your law degree has prepared you to follow. A word of caution about pursuing your passion, however: do not let what you do, your profession, totally define who you are. Any job, and especially the practice of law, can become all-consuming. Don't let it. Take care of your health, nurture your family relationships, safeguard your friendships, pursue a hobby, or get a dog, or maybe even a cat. Find what you are passionate about outside of your job and pursue that passion as zealously as you will pursue your career. Second, seek out a mentor. In fact, you should probably have a variety of mentors over your lifetime. I urge you to find someone who you respect and who is respected by others, and someone who respects you. Find someone who will not judge you too harshly, but will be critical when necessary, just like all of your professors were. Remember to pay it forward. Don't forget those students who are coming up in the ranks behind you. Return to the Law Center for alumni events, participate as judges in moot court, and attend other events that allow you to stay connected to the Law Center and to your former classmates. Third, listen more than you speak. Only when you are truly listening to what others are saying will you have the opportunity to learn. The best lawyers and professionals are those who keep their eyes and ears open to see and hear all that is going on around them. And last, never lose your moral compass. If it feels bad, if you would be embarrassed to share it with your grandma, don't do it. You will end up with a moral hangover. Always strive to be an ethical professional. Even more so, acting with civility and professionalism should be your ultimate goal in all of your dealings with others. You have been profoundly changed by your experiences at the Law Center. You have learned substantive legal principles. You have learned to approach problem solving in innovative ways. You have learned ways to interact with others in your profession to achieve a desired result. And you have learned the skills necessary to become highly competent and ethical lawyers. Now there is one more thing left to do, and I don't mean just the bar exam. What you need to do is take the knowledge and the skills that you have learned and use them to create the best possible lives for yourselves and for all of those around you. We know you can do it, and we know that you are ready to take on all of the challenges life will throw at you, and we know that you will succeed. We have great expectations for you and the great things you will do. Congratulations to the class of 2022. It is now my honor to introduce the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost of the Graduate and Professional Divisions of Touro University, Dr. Patricia Salkin.
Dean Langen, Attorney General James, members of the Law Center, faculty, administration, Board of Governors, alumni, and distinguished guests, on behalf of Touro University President Dr. Alan Kadish and myself, congratulations in person to the class of 2022. You know, you started at Touro College and you're graduating from Touro University. And President Kadish sends his warm regards and sincere regrets that he cannot be with us today. But as you know, the university is so wide and vast that unfortunately, he's on the West Coast celebrating graduations there. 'Tis the season at Touro for lots of great celebrations. And so he does want to make sure that you know that he wishes that he was here with you in person. Members of the class of 2022, you completed at least the last half of your legal education during an unprecedented time, whether you were a 3-year student, a 4-year student, or a 5-year student. I was right there with you and with the dean, the faculty, and members of the administration and staff in March of 2020 when we all got thrown a major curveball with the COVID-19 pandemic. No one had experienced anything like it before. Think back to the news, the fear of the unknown, the quickly rising number of people who were contracting this strange virus which produced for many people serious and grave conditions. Members of the Touro law community lost loved ones. Their loved ones lost jobs. And we lived in an environment where everything that we knew to be normal somehow seemed to change overnight. When you look back upon your law school experience, think about it in the context of the necessity of making decisions based upon the best information at the time. I know that you did not always get the answer that you wanted from the law center or from the university, nor was it always the answer that the university wished that it could have provided. But I can assure you that your health, the health of your family and loved ones, the help of the faculty and staff, that was always the #1 priority. The dean emphasized health and the need to take care of yourself and each other. Being a caretaker of humanity is in some respect what many lawyers do. I know that we are lawyers and not doctors or other healthcare professionals, nor are we social workers except for Dean Berman, or mental health counselors for that matter, but we do play a role in taking care of people. So what are some of the lessons of the pandemic that new lawyers should reflect upon? If everything was clear-cut and there was a perfect answer to problems and challenges, the world would not need us. They wouldn't need lawyers. We have learned through our legal education, among other things, to be creative problem solvers, how to help others through difficult and challenging times, and how to do the right thing for humanity. Class of 2022, you know better than just about anyone else the dire situation that the pandemic has had on people. You've experienced it. People who were facing eviction and the thought of not having a roof over their heads. People unable to afford food for themselves and their families. People unable to access routine and even non-routine medical care because the hospitals were full of patients with an illness we did not yet fully understand. And yet, class of 2022, it was the lawyers who worked side by side with the scientists and public officials to clear legal and regulatory hurdles to get the vaccine to market. It was lawyers who worked with governmental entities to use emergency powers to, among other things, enact temporary, broad-sweeping measures to protect public health and to provide some stability and shelter and basic essentials. And it was the lawyers who problem-solved to help draft and negotiate legislation to get needed financial aid to individuals and families in our communities. Never lose sight that it was the lawyers behind the scenes who figured out the legal methods to legitimize and operationalize these efforts. You are about to enter a profession that has profoundly changed since the first day you started law school. Lawyers and courts have learned to work remotely. Technology has forever changed the way many of you will practice law. The necessity of physical space and in-person interactions has changed in many respects, and electronic everything is the new normal in a profession once resistant to that type of innovation. I agree with Dean Langen that you are indeed a resilient group of talented and resourceful in minutes to be lawyers. Now you have one very important task to confront, and you all know what it is. Between now and the end of July, there is nothing more important in your lives than focusing on the necessary discipline of passing that bar exam. Be one and done. Everybody on this stage knows that you can do it, and we're counting on seeing your name in the Law Journal this fall. Class of 2022, I am honored to call you colleagues, and I look forward to learning all about the wonderful things that you will accomplish. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Salkin. It is a long-standing tradition that each graduating class chooses a favorite faculty member to make some remarks at these proceedings. The class of 2022 has selected Professor Desiree Kennedy. Professor Kennedy received her BA from Lehigh University, her JD from Harvard Law School, and LLM from Temple University School of Law. She has been a member of the Touro Law Center faculty since 2007, teaching civil procedure, family law, domestic violence, and health law, as well as race in the law. Prior to joining Touro, she was a member of the faculty at the University of Tennessee College of Law for 12 years. She is the co-author of a seminal treatise on New York domestic violence law. Her scholarship has been published in the Georgetown Journal of Legal Ethics, Arizona State Law Journal, Missouri Law Review, the Southern California Review of Law and Women's Studies, the Journal of Race, Gender, and Class, among other journals. In addition, she has chapters in the book Incarcerated Mothers, Oppression Resistance, published by Dieter Press, and Stepping Forward, Black Women in Africa and the Americas. Please welcome Professor Desiree Kennedy.
Thank you, Dean Langen, for that very warm welcome. And congratulations to the graduating class of 2022. I am so excited, honored, and humbled to have the opportunity to stand here as class professor and congratulate you, your family, your friends, and teachers who supported you through your journey. When I thought about what I might say to you today, I thought about all you've been through over the last 3 years and what it took to get here, to the top of your mountain. We began this journey on a rocky slope. Not only did you have to deal with the ordinary fears and pressures of law school, reading and understanding Pennoyer v. Neff, and Erie versus Tompkin Railway, but you had to do so in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, you guys did it all. You had classes and meetings in all the formats, in person, online, hybrid, and we all became instant techies. We were using Zoom and Canvas. We were DMing and Instagramming, FaceTiming, Snapchatting. Some of us were TikToking. We experienced the solitude of quarantine. We created bubbles, and we learned how to elbow bump. With heavy hearts, we faced the loss of friends, relatives, and luminaries. Collectively, we watched stunning images of an insurrection. We grieved the loss of life from mass shootings and police brutality, climate change, and witnessed the proliferation of race-based hate, both here and abroad. In other words, we braved treacherous passes, but we planted our stakes and we continued the climb. It would have been easy to have become demoralized by the overwhelming series of global events, but through it all, you found a way to stay together, to build community, to support each other, and stay focused on your studies through the lows and the highs. You remain engaged and active by hosting events, raising our collective consciousness about important issues, and remained committed to service and supporting community and public interest organizations. You were creative in finding ways to make new and keep old connections to ensure that our community of teachers and learners, scholars and activists, clinicians and social workers stayed strong. You made signs, you raised your voices, you signed petitions, you marched and are still marching and raising your voices in the movement for Black lives, Me Too, trans rights, to stop Asian hate, against police brutality, and for choice. For as Elie Wiesel famously stated, there may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest. In the midst of tragedy and a cultural awakening, we also celebrated the importance of diversity, particularly in the legal profession, and we witnessed remarkable milestones, like Kamala Harris being sworn in as the 49th U.S. Vice President on January 20th, 2021. And becoming the first woman, the first Black American, and the first Asian American to occupy the office. And after 232 years and 115 prior appointments, we witnessed the first appointment of a Black woman to the Supreme Court. Where Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson will join the first Latina justice, Sonia Sotomayor, and marking the first time 4 women will serve on the court at the same time. And of course, we are honored to be in the presence of Letitia James, the first woman of color to hold statewide office in New York, and the first woman to be elected Attorney General. So when I considered the strength and courage, the perseverance and grit, and the fearlessness and grace each of you showed during these uncertain times, I wondered, what could I say that you have not already learned, and what words of wisdom could add to the wisdom you've gained through living? And I thought about the importance of putting away fear, tackling great tasks, and building a community while doing so. And I was reminded of the Full Circle Everest team. The Full Circle Everest team was the first all-Black team to climb Mount Everest, and they successfully did so only about a week ago. And I am reminded of the many mountains we still have to climb together. that there are still very many firsts to achieve. That achievement means working as a team, supporting each other, and lifting as we climb. That making a difference means living a life of service, and that achieving great things often means building coalitions and bridges with others, like the Black climbers who worked with Sherpa guides to reach the peak. And I am reminded of the importance of having a base camp, a safe place where you can collect yourself, repair yourself, and prepare for another groundbreaking climb or task. So as you move into your careers and the rest of your lives, never take for granted what you have accomplished, the lives you've touched, and the difference you can make with your degree. If you doubt your power to effectuate change, remember Marian Wright Edelman's words that the small daily differences we make over time add up to big differences that we often cannot foresee. If you feel alone or uncertain about your path, rekindle the connections that you built or create new ones. And if you experience fear or doubt, remember the words of Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Thank you, and congratulations again to the graduating class of 2022.
Thank you, Professor Kennedy, for those inspiring words. We now turn to our Valedictorian and Salutatorian Awards. Our Valedictorian for the full-time division is James Daniel Bunster. The Valedictorian for the part-time division is Brendan Dowsher. Our salutatorian for the full-time division is Connor Burns. And the salutatorian for the part-time division is Christine Balia. Would you please join me on the stage? Thank you. The valedictorians will now share some brief remarks. First, we will hear from Mr. Bunster.
This is definitely not intimidating. I would like to begin by thanking all of the faculty, the administrators, and the professors at Touro Law Center for all of your hard work and dedication to our legal education. Without you, none of this would be possible. I would also like to thank all of the family and friends, especially those here today, that supported us through this journey. I know some of us, myself included, were not the easiest to deal with these past 3 years, but your encouragement, your love, and your understanding have enabled us to make it through this process in one piece. I would also like to personally thank Father Frank, Charlie Russo, my parents, and my fiancée Daly for their dedication, compassion, and unwavering support. I am forever grateful to you all. Now, to the class of 2020. We did it. We've made it through this journey, and we've overcome the challenges brought on by COVID, and we are now graduates of Touro Law Center. This is a badge of honor we can wear for the rest of our lives. All of us have faced and overcome adversity during our time at Touro. Some of us had health issues, financial troubles, lost loved ones during the pandemic, or even just had a hard time with the challenges and the remote learning. But these are the challenges that are going to build our character and make us more resilient. The personal growth that stemmed from these challenges is what is going to serve us in the future and make our success that much sweeter. I certainly join many others sitting here today in my own story of personal growth. My journey to law school was anything but traditional. I struggled with alcoholism for the better part of 10 years, moved down to Florida, and eventually became homeless. In 2017, I came back to New York with nothing to my name and was taken in by a charity called Hope House. I lived there for 3 years and even started my law school career while under their roof. I certainly had my share of challenges and obstacles, but I'm extremely proud to announce that next week I'll have 5 years sober. Thank you. Thank you. If somebody would have told me back then that I'd be standing here right now and giving a speech at my law school graduation, I never would have believed them. I'm telling you this story because a few people believed in me when everyone else didn't, and it changed my world. No matter where our career path takes us, whether we're working at the DA's office, legal aid, private practice, or even in-house, we have learned a unique set of skills that makes us attorneys. And as attorneys, there will be opportunities to help people, a type of help that can only be provided by an attorney. This is our time to take that opportunity and make a difference. The next time you find yourself in a position where your work seems daunting or even impossible, please remember the following story. One day, a man was walking along the beach when he noticed a boy picking something up and gently throwing it into the ocean. Approaching the boy, he asked, "What are you doing?" The boy replied, "I'm throwing starfish back into the ocean. The surf is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them back, they'll die." "Son," the man said, "don't you realize there's miles and miles of beach and thousands of starfish? You can't make a difference." After listening politely, the boy bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it back into the surf. Then smiling at the man, he said, "I made a difference for that one." We have chosen a noble profession. Each and every one of us possesses the ability to change the world for the better, even if that's just changing the world for one person. I am grateful that a couple of people believed in me and threw me back into the water 5 years ago, and I believe in all of you now. When this next part of our journey draws to an end, hopefully we will have learned to keep some balance in our lives and that we have not worked so hard to make a living that we forgot to make a life, especially since we will not be remembered for the material things we've accumulated, but rather for the lives we've affected. Congratulations again to the class of 2022 as we embark on our new journey and build our lives and careers. Remember the starfish story and be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. Now, the valedictorian of our part-time division, Mr. Dauscher.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Touro Law School graduation held here at the Tillis Center for the class of 2022. Quite the act to follow there. James, tremendous, absolute, amazing, great colleague, and going to be an amazing lawyer. Thank you to Touro University and LIU Post for allowing us to be in this beautiful facility to celebrate such a wonderful occasion. Thank you to the Touro University staff, professors, guidance counselors, career advisors, and everyone who's made an impact in my future and my career here. We are gathered here today to celebrate our amazing achievements of successfully completing this incredible journey we called law school. Now, I must be honest, it was not always easy. We have all spent countless hours studying, reviewing, writing, rewriting, editing, testing to be here for this momentous occasion. Some of us, like myself and others here today, chose to take the long route through law school by completing the evening program. For many of us, this was the only option as we worked full-time jobs during the day and had other familial obligations which required our attention during the workday. When we all started Touro, many of us heard the joking phrase called the 4 hells. It was intended to represent what we had willingly volunteered to do. 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, for 4 years. Well, as someone who has lived through it, I can certainly tell you that that is in fact a true statement. Everyone here today has given a tremendous effort to remain focused on their studies and complete the goal we all set out some 3 or 4 years ago, which was to be able to one day call ourselves lawyers. That day is today. All of us here today took different paths to arrive at this pinnacle of academic achievement. Some of my colleagues even commuted to and from New York City and the outer boroughs to attend class daily. Law school took an incredible amount of dedication and perseverance from each of us to be sitting here today. For everyone to give up so much time from our families and our loved ones to push our limits as students is incredibly admirable. We all learned a tremendous amount of substantive law during our time at the Touro Law Center. Countless nights, weekends, and really any spare time we had, we poured into horn books, case books, and our notebooks to really understand the law. Now, if law school wasn't difficult enough, add in a global pandemic, a sudden and abrupt halt to in-person learning, and frankly, a change to our entire way of life. We proceeded to overcome the hurdles of distance learning and challenged ourselves to study harder and remain focused on the task at hand while our world seemed to change minute to minute. Looking back on it, we can all now say we completed law school during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I think we should all be incredibly proud of overcoming that obstacle together. As I stand before all of you today, I am humbled by the amount of incredibly smart, bright, amazing future lawyers we have in this room. Before I conclude today, I would like to say thank you to a few special people who have helped me along the way. First, Sam and Ryan. I could not have done this without both of you, and you are truly amazing friends. Next, my loving family, Mom, Dad, Megan, Nick, and Melissa. I could not have asked for a better support system and a more loving family than you all. I truly appreciate all of your sacrifices that have allowed me to stand here today. Before we all leave today, I want you to remember the challenges and hardships law school presented to us. Countless assignments, deadlines, tests, and papers. You name it, we did it. I want you all to remember those long nights and weary hours studying the law, when the next chapter of our lives starts to become difficult, when the partner at your firm tells you to work through the night to complete an assignment, or your boss drops a new matter on your desk when you are already swamped. Fear not, we made it through law school. When your family life gets challenging or your circumstances at home change and things become uncertain, fear not, we made it through law school. When bar preparation is challenging and you are getting worn out from studying, fear not, we made it through law school. We are a tremendous group of smart, strong-willed, and hardworking individuals who can accomplish anything we set our minds to. When the going gets tough, we get going. It has been a pleasure for me to attend classes with all of you, and it has been an honor to be able to stand and speak in front of you all today. Thank you all for your time. Good luck in the next chapter of your lives, and don't forget, we're lawyers now. Congratulations, everyone.
To broaden access to legal education, Touro offers several programs enabling students to obtain the Juris Doctor degree according to a shortened or extended timeline. Graduates completing these programs are not eligible for the Valedictorian or Salutatorian awards, but we want to honor their achievements of these graduates who finished first and second in the 2-year full-time program and the 5-year part-time program. Will Olivia Kathleen Wade, the highest cumulative GPA, and Dylan Tchaikovsky, second highest cumulative GPA in the 2-year full-time program, please come forward? In addition, will Caitlin M. Pickford, highest cumulative GPA, and David J. Lawler, second highest cumulative GPA in the 5-year part-time program, please also join me on stage. Will Ariel Sarah Berkowitz please join me? Each year, the graduating students choose one of their own to be the recipient of the Ronnie D. Cohen Class Orator Award to address the graduates, faculty, and guests. This year's Class Orator is Ariel Sarah Berkowitz.
Thank you, Dean Langen. To those of you who I have not met, my name is Ariel, and it is my honor to speak on behalf of the class of 2022. It feels strange standing here with all my peers who I feel like I met only yesterday, but really we all first crossed paths in August of 2019. On that August day, many of us were sitting in the auditorium at Touro Law, beginning our orientation to law school. I remember being split into our designated 1L sections. We were given a topic, and the professor asked for 6 volunteers to take a side and argue based on the minute knowledge of the law we had. Though I did not remember the topic, what I did remember, or who I did remember, were those 6 students who were courageous enough to volunteer. And I remember listening to how eloquently they spoke and thinking, wow, I am not as smart as they are. And that was the first of many times I second-guessed myself as a law student. Self-doubt was an ever-present feeling for many of us these last few years. And while our class was given reasons to doubt everything, given what we had to deal with being law students amidst a worldwide pandemic, we adapted. We learned how to handle the unknown and trust our instincts. One year, I called my parents after each exam, and my father, he asked me the same question each and every time. In fact, he continued asking me that same question up until my last exam. He's back there somewhere. How many answers did you change at the last minute? First year of law school, it was almost every answer on my exams. I thought my gut is wrong. If I don't change my answer, I'll be upset with myself. I second-guessed everything, and I think that's relatable, right? Maybe not for everyone when it comes to tests, but we've all second-guessed decisions, big and small. Nonetheless, we never allowed those feelings of self-doubt to prevent us from pursuing our dreams. We finished law school. As law students, we were taught to IRAC. We were taught everything depends. We were taught to think like lawyers. But at Touro, I believe we were taught to think like human beings. It took some time, but I've realized that a large part of the law and this career we are about to embark on is not always based on the technical nuances. Oftentimes, it's to trust our guts. And despite second-guessing decisions big and small, we were relentless in our quest to move ahead. When I think of the Touro Law class of 2022, I think of that one word in particular. We were relentless. Over the course of these last 3 years, we grew together in a time of turbulence. We were fortunate enough to begin law school in person our first semester. We formed study groups, relationships with professors. We joined various organizations. We spent hours on end in the library studying for exams and taking breaks between classes to play pool or ping pong on the second floor. And then on March 5th of 2020, the Touro Law Center sent an alert to the Touro law community. Among many things, it said that we would be entirely online effective March 9 through 12. And honestly, I remember my friends and I were elated. We were like, school online for a week, that sounds great. And then we received another email on March 11th that we'd remain online until after spring break. And then spring break came, and the school closed indefinitely, as did the entire country and most of our world. Our second year, we were entirely remote, navigating this new world together, and we became professionals with handling Zoom meetings, virtual classes. Even a pandemic could not prevent us from continuing to persevere. We were relentless. We had study sessions with our study groups on Zoom and office hours with professors until the late hours of the night from our own bedrooms. We were relentless. COVID taught us how adaptable we are. Sure, we lost some of our time together in person, but we pushed the boundaries of possibilities and we persevered. I'd like to thank those who helped form us into the relentless, soon-to-be attorneys we are. To the faculty, staff, and administration, thank you for your unwavering support these last few years. To our professors here at Touro, who I truly believe are like no other, thank you for devoting your time inside and outside the classroom, and for teaching us not just to think like lawyers, but to think like human beings and with our hearts. To our friends and families who supported us each step of the way, thank you for everything you've done to help us reach this point in our professions and lives, and for reassuring us when we felt overcome with self-doubt. To my parents and my sister Jules, thank you for dealing with my roller coaster of emotions during finals this morning and every day these last 24 years, and for pushing me to believe in myself. And last, but certainly not least, to the class of 2022, I want to say thank you for everything. Thank you for the friendships I know will last a lifetime. Thank you for the lively classroom debates, both in person and in our Zoom room class chats. Thank you for teaching me that law school does not need to be a competition, it can be a team effort. Back on our first day of orientation, we were told to turn to the person to our left and turn to the person to our right and to introduce ourselves. And then we were told to treat each other with kindness over the 3 years to come, because we might cross paths in a courtroom one day. Today, I urge you to do the same. Turn to the person to your left and turn to the person to your right. Hopefully at this point you don't have to introduce yourselves, but congratulate each other and recognize that your neighbors today will be litigators, they'll be professors, they might be senators or even judges 10 years from now. I am so proud to know each and every one of you and to know that we can count on our classmates who are now our colleagues. Now let's get to work and pass the bar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel, for your comments. We would like to honor all of the graduates who are receiving awards for their academic achievement, service to the school, and service to the legal profession. Listed in your programs are the names of all of those graduates who are receiving awards. At this time, I would like to invite all of the award recipients to stand at their seats so they may be recognized. Stand up. Thank you. When they did that at my law school graduation, they could have said, "Everybody but Elena Langen, please stand." We are honored to welcome Touro Law Center's 2022 commencement speaker, New York State Attorney General, the Honorable Letitia James. A.G. James is the 67th Attorney General for the state of New York. She began her career as a public defender at the Legal Aid Society. She is a graduate of Lehman College and Howard University School of Law. She is an experienced attorney and public servant with a long record of accomplishments. As Professor Kennedy pointed out, she is the first woman of color to hold statewide office in New York and the first woman to be elected Attorney General. In 2013, Ms. James was elected Public Advocate for the City of New York and became the first woman of color to hold citywide office. As Public Advocate, Ms. James served as a watchdog over New York City government agencies and as an advocate for the city's most vulnerable communities. She is credited with the transformation of the Public Advocate's office to be a formidable engine for change. Her office handled more than 32,000 constituent complaints and passed more legislation than all previous public advocates combined. Prior to serving as public advocate, Ms. James represented the 35th Council District in Brooklyn in the New York City Council for 10 years. Before her election to the City Council, Ms. James served as the head of the Brooklyn Regional Office of the New York State Attorney General's Office. She resolved hundreds of consumer complaints and investigated predatory lenders who preyed on first-time homebuyers. She has a long history of working for and on behalf of the residents of the state of New York. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Letitia James to the podium.
Hello and congratulations to the class of 22. I want to thank the Dean for that kind introduction and for the opportunity to address these future lawyers who will go on to practice law across this state, the nation, and the globe. And I want to thank you to all of the distinguished speakers and awardees who have done so much to make the Touro Law Center the remarkable place that it is. Myra Berman, Rabbi Fogel, Patricia Salkin, Professor Kennedy, James Bunster, Brandon Dauscher, Ariel Berkowitz, Roger Cintrone, and of course, someone who I used to work with as a staff member in the New York State Legislature, Senator Laval. Yeah, round of applause. But I can't help myself. I've got to give a special shout out to Bianca Wheeler, who managed to get her law degree while working in my office. I've known Bianca for a long time and have had the honor of having her on my team since my days in the Public Advocate's office. And I want her to know that the whole of the Attorney General's office, from Buffalo to Suffolk County, is rooting for you today, and even more than usual. And I know that the Robinson family and the Wheeler family also are proud of you, as am I. I also want to give a shout out to Brendan Cunningham. Where's Brendan? Yeah. Brendan is the Chief of Staff to New York State Assembly Member Kimberly Jean-Pierre. He has done a great job in representing the interests of residents in Suffolk County, and today he too becomes an attorney. Congratulations, Mr. Cunningham. Finally, I want to thank all of the talented and distinguished faculty, the staff, and the alumni of Touro Law Center that have made today possible, and I am honored and grateful for the privilege of being here with you today. Today is but one moment in a lifetime of moments that will help shape and define your life. Throughout the years, the Touro Law Center has served as a beacon of academic excellence. Students from every corner of this state and from all around the world are drawn to this campus. And as I look out at all of you, this remarkable, welcoming community that you have helped build here is on full display today. It's a community that will be forever etched into your hearts. And you will carry this community spirit with you all throughout your lives. Touro has taught you to be forthright in your argument, in depth in your thought, focused in study, artful in persuasion, accurate in your analysis, and compassionate in your zeal for justice. And years from now, when you trace over your careers, I am confident that you will find that the years that you have spent at Touro were among the most impactful and intentional. And the sheer power and influence of your degree, I am more than confident, will open doors to unlimited opportunities. In your time at Touro, you have learned how critical it is to ensure that everyone has equal access to the law, and that at its core, the purpose of all law is justice. and that the law has transformed and has had ripple effects across the landscape of this nation, shaping its direction. It is rooted in the foundation of this school. In fact, this school's namesake, Jacob D. Fuchsberg, represented a young boy who was tragically paralyzed. And he summed up the nation's first $1 million personal injury trial by telling the jury, every time you walk out of here with a proud feeling of full justice done, wherever it leads you, that spire has just reached a little more heavenward. That inspirational legacy, one that calls on us and you to strive for justice, was implanted on generations of lawyers over the course of their time at Touro, including each of you graduating today. And now, starting today, you will embark on a journey unlike any other as you continue to climb that spiral. You have arrived here at this moment, and you walk in the footsteps of a principled heritage, because the founders of our Constitution proclaimed their ambition to form a more perfect union, and they obligated future generations like yours to refine this vision to meet the needs of each new era. Every one of you has a profound potential for being an agent of positive change in a career that demands the highest level of competence and ethics. Because we, my friends, my scholars, we are at a sobering moment in history. A nation torn, frayed, in need of answers. A fractured nation which is desperately seeking answers. And so, graduates, the fierce urgency of now requires that you step up. Someone once said that the law is one of the great healing professions. While medicine heals the body and clergy heals the soul, the law heals strife and rifts. At a time when our faith and trust and our basic institutions is being shattered, you scholars have to focus on what binds us and bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice. It is our struggles that help us to define who we are and what we are made of as a nation. And so on this day of song and celebration, this glorious day, a glorious day that God has made, I know that all of you scholars are truly remarkable, and you are up to the challenge. And how do I know that? Because in the midst of a global pandemic that has caused immeasurable loss and pain, while dealing with your own grief, while your lives were upended, while you were worried about your families and your loved ones, you're the only generation that I can recall. You managed to not only continue in law school, but to make it to graduation day. Yes, there's something special about them. You endured countless late nights of studying for finals, staying up long after Starbucks closed. You poured hours into challenging work at clinics, doing everything from supporting families facing bankruptcy and foreclosure, providing pro bono legal services to vulnerable seniors, and serving the veterans who bravely served our nation. And you threw yourselves into the fray of battling for justice by doing advocacy and research and client relations work with public interest organizations through the William Randolph Hearst Public Advocacy Center. You faced innumerable hardships, but you pressed on and you prevailed with your eyes on justice because you knew this education, your law degree, was worth the difficulty, because you knew that with this degree, you have the power to change the world, to move mountains. And you're moving on to this next chapter during one of the most vulnerable times our nation has ever seen, at a time when this country needs you most, as we continue to figure out the new normal in a post-pandemic world, and as we witness horrific acts of domestic terrorism that is shaking us to our core. It often seems like we're dealing with tragedy after tragedy, but it's critical to remember that while the problems may seem endless, more importantly, so too are the solutions. And graduates, soon, in your hand, that degree represents a solution. With your legal education firmly in hand, protect the rights and liberties critical to a functioning democracy. Defend the principle of equal protection under the law and leave no one behind. And remember that no one is above the law. And never, ever apologize for speaking the truth, because truth crushed to the ground will rise again. Justice has come at a heavy price, but where presence and importance can never be ignored, but whose presence and importance can never be ignored. Class of 22, it is now your turn to take your place. And remember, how you take your place in the circle of life will dictate the future for many generations to come. We did not choose the life circumstances into which we are born, but we have the power to choose what we do with the life that we have been given. Today, you are ready for this next chapter. You are ready to step into the unknown to fulfill your duties as interpreters and defenders of the law. You're ready to act as a sword and the shield, defending the rule of law and protecting those excluded from its reach. Make every second, every moment, and every decision count. Never lose your soul, my friends. Never lose your principles or violate your principles. Always stay hungry, and always keep that fire for justice burning in your belly. And know that however you seek to better the world, know that all of these people out here who have supported you and who are filled with joy right now and pride, that they are rooting for you. I truly believe that the future is bright for our nation because you are all in it. And so again, my scholars, my colleagues, the amazing class of 2022, you crushed it. You did it. Congratulations.
Thank you, Attorney General James, for those inspiring and heartfelt words. Would Touro University Senior Vice President and Provost, Dr. Patricia Salkin, please join me at the podium? No need for that. Now we come to the central part of the ceremony, the presentation of graduates and the hooding ceremony as a symbol of degree conferral and the passing on of the responsibilities of the profession. Will our December 2021 graduates please rise? Provost Salkin, I have the honor to present to you the Juris Doctor graduates who finished their requirements in December 2021. Having successfully completed all requirements for the degrees as prescribed by the faculty of the Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center, they have earned the approbation of the faculty.
Pursuant to the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the State of New York and the trustees of Touro University, and having completed the specified requirements for said degrees, I hereby confirm the conferral of the degrees of Juris Doctor on these members of the class of 2022 who completed requirements in December of 2021.
Alrighty, will our May and July 2022 degree candidates please rise? Provost Salkin, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor. In anticipation of successful completion of all of the requirements for the degrees as prescribed by the faculty of the Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center, the candidates have earned the approbation of the faculty.
Pursuant to the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the State of New York and the trustees of Touro University, upon completion of specified requirements for said degrees, I hereby confirm the conferral of the degrees of Juris Doctor on these candidates and members of the class of 2022.
At this time, I would like to call upon John Linarelli, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, who will formally present the names of the recipients of and the candidates for the Juris Doctor degree.
Good afternoon. Family and friends of our graduates, our students, have worked very hard to earn the right to be here today, and you have all been a part of their efforts. When your graduate's name is called, we encourage you to recognize their achievements. Do not hold your applause to the end. Please show your pride and joy. Each graduate is being hooded by a member of the Touro faculty or administration or by an attorney they have chosen. The purpose of the hooding ceremony is to pass on the mantle of the legal profession from one generation to the next. The hooding ceremony will be assisted by class professor Desiree Kennedy and Assistant Dean for Student Services Heather D. Piero. Okay. Alessandra E. Albano, summa cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman, Touro class of 2005. Angeline Artur Inzone, being hooded by Professor Irene McDermott. Benjamin Harris Berman, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. John James Bonanno, magna cum laude, in absentia. Gerald L. Chan, in absentia. Aruz Chowdhury, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Edward Dunphy, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Raymond Fregola Jr., summa cum laude, in absentia. Matthew Golian, magna cum laude, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Amanda Hill, being hooded by Professor Danielle Schwager, Touro class of 1998. Cheyenne Kilroy, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager, Touro class of 1998. Elizabeth Konstantakopoulos, cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman, Touro class of 2005. Alexandra Lopiccolo, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman, Touro class of 2005. Jaquana McDonald, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager, Touro Law Center, class of 1998. Michael Monaco, in absentia. Christina Negri, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Veronica Ramel, being hooded by Professor Irene McDermott. Maria Conchetta Rella, being hooded by her cousin, William Batista. Jacqueline Rupelli, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman, Touro class of 2005. Nicole Marie Smith, cum laude, being hooded by her mother, Kim Smith. Jasmine Ann Vega, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Alexander Zeke, being hooded by longtime friend and employer Todd Spodek. Isaac Ackerman in absentia. Emily Asti Almonte, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Alina Amirian, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Might as well stay up there. Ina Anopa, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Joseph Aronov, magna cum laude, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Rachel Catherine Bayo, cum laude, being hooded by Supervisor Christina Pinota, Touro class of 2011. Cameron Balcarcel, being hooded by Professor William Brooks. There you go. Justine Nicole Barbieri, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Christopher Beck, magna cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Ariel Sarah Berkowitz, being hooded by her father, Stephen Berkowitz. Natalia Bianco, magna cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Romeo Boatswain, cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Casey Aaron Bray, cum laude, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Marcus Brown, cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Tiffany Graham. James Daniel Bunster, summa cum laude, being hooded by his mentor, Charles C. Russo. Tina Byrne, being hooded by her mentor, Jason Hake. Connor Burns, summa cum laude, being hooded by Assistant Director for Career Services, Natasha Dasani. Tyler James Canfield, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager. Joseph R. Caputo III, being hooded by Class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Jacqueline Carranza, being hooded by Class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Catherine Rose Carroll, cum laude, being hooded by her aunt, Lisa Carroll. Aliyah Chase, magna cum laude, being hooded by her mother, Camille Singh. Casey Chung, being hooded by Professor Debbie Lannon. Nickery Georgia Clark, being hooded by her mother, Georgia McCarthy, Touro Law Class of 1987. Oh, sorry. Ryan Conboy, being hooded by his father, Michael Conboy. Jennifer Koves, magna cum laude, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Brendan Joseph Cunningham, magna cum laude, being honored by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Joseph Daphnos, being hooded by Professor Leif Rubenstein. Brendan Dosher, summa cum laude, being hooded by Class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Joseph DiMarzio, being hooded by Class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Shannon Jones Dennis, magna cum laude, being hooded by Class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Tonisha Desiree, being hooded by Assistant Director for Career Services, Natasha Dassini. Stephanie DePrima, being hooded by her friend, Sydney Gross, Touro Law Class of 2020. Joseph Dosher, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Brandon Ellis, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager. Jake Ryder Falk, cum laude, being hooded by his father, Jeffrey Falk. Amara Farouk, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Dean Michael Fazio, being hooded by his friend, Irina Moyne. Ingrid Fernandez, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Joel Ferreira, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager. Paul Anthony Franco, being hooded by his cousin, Maria Latuga. Lauren Michelle Fuenzalida, being hooded by her uncle, Edward Donraj, Touro Law Class of 1993. Jessica Giardina, being hooded by Professor Danielle Schwager. Christina Glekas, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Krupa Golakia, being hooded by her friend Priyanka Shah. Margaret Rose Goodman, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Stephen J. Grillo, being hooded by class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Norma Maria Hamilton, being hooded by class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Kiara Anastasia Halter, magna cum laude, being hooded by class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Summer Hendrickson, being hooded by her mentor, Senator Kenneth Laval, Touro Law Center class of 1987. Yeah, Senator Laval. Senator Laval. There he goes. Danny Hernandez, being hooded by Professor Melina Healy. Melina? Then we will do the class, the class professor, Desiree Kennedy will do it. Pamela Hidalgo, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Maria Herakis, magna cum laude, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Damian Ginarine, cum laude, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Jacqueline Sophia Jordan, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Ikra Kafayet, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Shauna Camille, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Samantha Blair Cartman, summa cum laude, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Alina Katz, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Christopher Kelly, being hooded by Professor Danielle Schwager. Tori Cohen, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Alina Zinskaya, being hooded by Assistant Dean for Career Services Jim Montes. Anthony Latagano, cum laude, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. David Lawler, summa cum laude, being hooded by Professor Irene McDermott. Daniel J. LeBrun, cum laude, being hooded by his mother, the Honorable Melanie Siganowski. Christina Leroy, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Eddie Levy, in absentia. Alexandra Linder, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Dewitt Brian Linton, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Alexandra Gabriel Lopez, being hooded by her friend Dennis O'Doherty. Sorry. There he is. Alex Lupo, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Justin Michael Maeda, being hooded by Associate Dean Tiffany Graham. Stephanie Maldonado, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Biana Manashvili, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. Christopher John Manetis, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Juan Arizmendi Marrero Juman, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Oscar A. Membreño, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Desmond Miller, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Jada Mitchell Jennings, being hooded by the Honorable Mark Cohen. Brian Oscar Maloche, being hooded by his sister Kimberly Maloche, Touro class of 2017. Brian Robert Mooney, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. Rosalia Morano, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager.
It's Rosalia.
Oh, sorry.
This one is in absentia.
Okay. Adam Spencer Moss, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager. Daniel E. Molokondov is in absentia. Anastasia Nobatova, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Melissa Knupp, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Joshua Tyler Pack, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Christopher Palmieri, magna cum laude, being hooded by his father Vito Palmieri, Touro Law class of 1989. Rebecca Paredes, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Daniel Frederick Paris, magna cum laude, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Amanda Lauren Pendell, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Debbie Lannon. Sebastian Perez, being hooded by Provost Patricia Salkin. Billy Stacy Phillips, being hooded by class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Caitlin M. Pickford, summa cum laude, being hooded by her close friend and mentor, the Honorable Gaeten Lozito. Aaron Pirov, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Claudia Pius, in absentia. Marcin Podgierski, being hooded by Associate Dean John Linarelli. That's me. Kenneth Prezel, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schwager. Connor Purcell, summa cum laude, being hooded by Professor Raina Seplowitz. Brian Govinda Ramthat, magna cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Fernanda Danielle Ramos, being hooded by her godfather's wife, the Honorable Consuelo Melendez. John Reagan, being hooded by class Professor Desiree Kennedy. Darling Tatiana Restrepo, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Jakor J. Riddick, being hooded by his cousin, Assistant Director of Career Services, Gianna Baptiste. Jason Anthony Rivera, being hooded by his mentor and boss, Robert Bernstein. Alexander Rogalski, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Desiree Kennedy. Delaney Rosa, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Alexandra Rotono Medina, being hooded by her father, Stephen Medina. Alyssa Russell, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Gurtej Singh Sahini, being hooded by his father, Gurvinder Sahini. Sabrina Hope Salvi, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schweger. Allison Sandoval, cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Dylan Michael Schwartz, being hooded by Professor Danielle Schweger. Lauren Katharina Senko, being hooded by her uncle Thomas Rosicki, Touro class of 1997. Michaela Shapiro, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schweger, Touro Law Class of 1998. Samuel Christian Sheridan, summa cum laude, being hooded by Adjunct Professor Michael Boykin, Touro Law Class of 2011. Daniel S. Smith, cum laude, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Samantha Sparacino, being hooded by Professor Daniel Schweger. Stephen Stimler, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Casey. Victoria Lee Stone, summa cum laude, being hooded by her husband Jason Stone. Michael Shuagamelli, cum laude, being hooded by Professor Debbie Lannon. Dayoung Mary's son, being hooded by Provost Patricia Selkin. Raj Tewala, being hooded by Associate Dean John Linarelli. And I lost my place. Thomas Tiernan, cum laude, being hooded by the Honorable Mark Cohen. Dylan Tokovsky, magna cum laude, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Jack Nicholas Toscano, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Kenneth Michael Troy, being hooded by Professor Desiree Kennedy. Ashley Tyneman, being hooded by the Honorable Mark Cohen. Haley Ann Vulla, summa cum laude, being hooded by her mentor, Alexa Marie Major. Peter Vario, cum laude, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Christine Velia, summa cum laude, being hooded by her colleague and mentor, Charles C. Russo. Olivia Kathleen Wade, magna cum laude, being hooded by Associate Dean Myra Berman. Bianca Rose Wepler, being hooded by Professor Danielle Schwager. Bianca Wheeler, being honored by her mentor, the Honorable Letitia James, New York State Attorney General. Laurel Crystal Ray, being hooded by class professor Desiree Kennedy. Lindsay Zager, being hooded by Professor Rena Seplowitz. And Sean Zaremba, being hooded by Professor Peter Zablotsky. I'm very pleased to welcome Associate Dean Myra Berman to the podium.
Mike was about a foot too high. Congratulations. Congratulations to you all. Touro Law Center's class of 2022. You can all stand up just fine. Ladies and gentlemen, our graduates have now become members of a group of over 6,500 graduates of Touro Law Center. And I now declare these commencement exercises officially concluded. So you could applaud again. But please don't go anywhere. Please stay in your seats. We ask you to remain seated for just a few moments longer so that our faculty, distinguished guests, and our graduates may exit the theater in a dignified manner. Graduates, faculty, and administration, and immediate family members will be proceeding to the atrium for a brief reception to permit photos of our graduates with faculty, law school friends, and family. We wish you all well as you go off to celebrate this grand occasion. Graduates, just one final instruction. Caps, hoods, and honor cords are yours to keep. Guest hooders and faculty will return your caps, gowns, and hoods to the robing room. Award recipients can pick up their awards near the ticket booth in the atrium. Professor William Brooks will lead the distinguished guests, administration, and faculty out of the theater. Following the academic procession, faculty marshals will then lead the graduates out of the theater. Where's the band? The band?